Hi. Are we live? Are we live? Hey. Okay. And you know what I did? I also went live on Twitter, but I don't know if that's working. So let's see. Am I on Twitter? I don't think I am. I don't know how that works. My StreamYard is hooked up to Twitter, but I don't think I have live features on Twitter. So I don't know how that's even working. I don't think we're live on Twitter. Oh my gosh, I'm live on Twitter. Oh, we're a little delayed on Twitter. This is so cool. Very cool. Okay, we're just testing it, you guys. It's super delayed. I didn't even know I could do that. I just kind of tested it out. So, Twitter peeps, hold on, let me just do a comment. Wow, this is so cool. Okay, Twitter peeps, I am testing my live on this platform. Seems to be super slow. Seems to be super slow, but I don't know. That's kind of cool. Yeah, it's pausing. Crazy. We are just trying. That is so wild. Okay. Interesting. All right. Hey, hi. All right. Hi, Alex. Hi, James. Hi, Jason. Hi, John. Hi, Marco. Hi, Miles. It's so good to see you guys. Hi, Sir TDS. How's your Trump derangement syndrome going? Is it better? This is so cool. I had no. I'm live on. Did you get? No, I didn't. I need to reach out to them. So I'm not with my agent anymore and at Imperium 7, which to be honest, I'm a little happy about. Not that I don't like them. I love them very much. They're wonderful, but I'm just kind of excited that I'm not in that audition game anymore. That's what I'm excited about. Okay, so it's my fault. We're going to have a few. Can you guys hear me? All right, we're going to have a few glitches tonight, and it's totally my fault. I'm getting back in the game. My light might turn off. So when that goes off, I didn't charge it. When that goes off, I'm going to kick on my main light. So it might not look that great. Thank you so much, Wall Street. Oh, thank you. Yeah, Suedo Simulcat. I can't read. I can't read that. Tim, I'm glad you're here. Alex. Okay, so I'm getting back into the groove. I am going to be live also tomorrow, and we're going to do a silly show. So we're going to do clown news. This is crazy. I've never been live on Twitter as well. This is so wild. My Twitter is super delayed, but how freaking cool is that? I didn't even know I could do that. Okay. Oh, thank you for sounding it out for me. So-do simulcast. Yes, that's what we're doing. Sound it out. My wife and I officially became grandparents at 2:09 a.m. last Thursday. James, congratulations. That's very exciting. Oh my gosh, to be a grandparent, that's such a milestone because you can spoil the child. You can just love it and get all the best parts and then give it back. And then you get to punish your own kids, right? I'm so glad you're all here. This will be an interesting show. We're going to go into Maui. There's a lot to talk about Maui. But before we do that, I thought while people are coming in, I thought we would have a little bit of fun and I would tell you about my recent travels. Because I haven't traveled in a while. I've been a little bit holed up in small town Virginia. So I went and I stayed in West Hollywood for about 11 days. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome, James. That is so exciting. It's an interesting milestone, I think, to be a grandparent. That's such an exciting and fun milestone. So I'm really happy for you, and thank you for sharing that. I'm still like, I'm just in shock that I'm also live on Twitter. This is just wild. Absolutely wild. Okay. All right, let's go. I apologize to the Twitter peeps if I'm a little bit delayed, if the quality isn't good. You're welcome to come to my YouTube, and it's a little bit better on the YouTubes. So there's that. We're testing the waters right now. Okay, so travels. Yeah, I went to California. I went to Southern California for hi Pa. I went to Southern California for 11 days. I stayed in West Hollywood. I had not been there for I've been to Southern California, but not I've mostly stayed in Hermosa Beach, so I've been a little bit insulated from a lot of the issues that are typically in Southern California. So let me just tell you my experience. I flew in, I stayed in a hotel in West Hollywood for a while. And this is what I observed. So I've been, like I said, in small town America for a minute. We're going to get into Maui in about 10 minutes. So I'm just letting people come in. I stayed in West Hollywood for about 11 days actually. And I hadn't been around the homeless population. I haven't been around any of that. So West Hollywood is really unique because they don't allow camping. So you're not going to see tents in West Hollywood. But what you will see are every few blocks, you're going to see people that are extremely drugged out. You're going to see people that are extremely mentally incapacitated and that are not in their right mind. And that's not saying anything bad about these individuals. It's just saying that this is scary. This is really, really scary stuff. And it's so irresponsible and it's putting people in so much danger. You guys, some of you have been with me for a while, so you know my background a little bit. In my past life, I interned at a psychiatric hospital for adults and I worked in an acute care psychiatric hospital for children and adolescents. So when I worked with the adults, I interned there. I was little 21-year-old Sarah, and that's where they put me. And they accidentally put me with the NGRI population, which means not guilty by reason of insanity. And I actually worked with a man that committed murder. I'm going to protect some of his details because he's still out there somewhere. But he committed this act against a family member, and it was very random. He thought the family member was a robot that was trying to kill him. He just automatically went into a delusion and took care of business, I guess you could say. And I think about him a lot. And I had a really good rapport with him when I was interning at the hospital. And one day, just randomly, him and I were just sitting having a normal conversation, and he just flipped like that. He just went straight into a delusion. And when he started doing it, he started talking about things that were pretty wild to me, things that I was not used to him talking about. Thank you very much, Bradley. And I had if you're talking to a friend and your friend goes into a delusion, your first reaction is to kind of smirk a little bit or laugh a little bit because you're like, why are you joking? Like, be yourself. And that was my 21-year-old first reaction. He saw a split second of a smirk on my face. And I caught it immediately, but he caught it too. And he automatically, all of a sudden, wanted to go in on me, and he was threatening my life on me. So that's how quickly someone can change, someone that's mentally incapacitated. So you have all these individuals, and the way that West Hollywood is again, they don't allow camping. So you're not going to necessarily see tents. But what you will see every few blocks are individuals like this. They're either sleeping on the corner, they're pacing back and forth, or they're talking to themselves. This is a ticking time bomb. And the thing is, when someone is mentally unwell, anything can set them off. It can be the color of your hair, it can be the color of your pants, it can be anything, and that will set them off, and you don't know. So it's extremely dangerous, it's extremely scary, and being away from it for so long and then going back into that environment was absolutely wild. It was wild because what happens, I lived in West Hollywood for 6 or 7 years. I was used to it. And stuff gets normalized to you and you don't even realize it. It gets so normalized that you just walk past these people and you're like, oh, it's fine. But being out of that situation and then coming back was wild. Wall Street, I suspect I don't, what are you saying? Watching too much Terminator. Wait, you didn't miss anything, Timothy. We're just getting started. All right. So yeah, that was my experience. And then coming back, my I had a connecting flight. So my flight coming out of Los Angeles, we were sitting on the tarmac for an hour in the plane. They were waiting on jet fuel. So that made my connecting flight late, which made me miss my connecting flight. So I spent the night in the Dallas airport. I spent the night there. I was a woman of the airport. So if I could give you any advice, any travel advice, it would be this. Number one, if you have to spend the night in the did I say Dallas airport? I meant Dulles, Washington. If you're going to spend the night in the Dulles airport, go in gate C or D because the chairs do not have armrests. So you can just go ahead and spread yourself out like a nice little bed and just make it real nice for yourself. And then if you're lucky, the staff will feel bad for you and bring you a blanket. So there's that. Also, what I did, there's a lot of delays happening right now. So what I did is I checked into my United flight on the app. And what that helped me do is when I missed my Dallas I meant Dulles. I apologize. I meant Dulles. Dulles Airport in Washington, D.C. That's the one I got stuck in. So make sure you get yourself to gate C or D because that will help you a lot. It will make your overnight stay much better. Also, there's a 24-hour customer service at United, so you're next to 24-hour staff, which helps. I also checked into my flight on the app, on the United app, and that helped me because somehow, because I checked in on the app when they saw that my first flight was delayed, what they did on the app, this was really cool. This is one thing I really appreciated about United. What they did was they gave me a backup flight. They automatically signed me up for a backup flight. So they automatically put me on the next flight going out, but they kept my original flight. So essentially what they were saying was, okay, if you can get your original flight, we'll keep you on that flight, but just in case you miss it, we're going to put you on this backup flight. So then when I missed my flight, my connecting flight, I didn't have to talk to anyone. I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to go anywhere. I was automatically put on the next flight going out. So that was really nice because if you looked at my social media, I posted a picture of the line at customer service and the people that were trying to call, and it was a crap show. It was a crap show, and I didn't have to deal with any of that. The only reason I would have had to get in that line is if I wanted a hotel voucher, which for me didn't make sense because I was leaving first thing in the morning. So I just decided to stay overnight at the airport. So that was cool. All right. There's that. There's my little adventure. And there's my vamping. So now let's get started on Hawaii. All right. So we all know what happened in Hawaii. There was a fire that went ablaze. And unfortunately, it wiped out the entire town of Lahaina. And there are a lot of questions about this fire. So what we're going to do is we're going to look into some of the questions about the fire. Because what you're going to hear from a lot of officials is that this was climate change. This was the result of climate change. No space lasers, Timothy. No, we're not talking about space lasers. We're talking about real stuff. So what you're going to hear is this was climate change from a lot of government officials. And I'm going to show you that right now. But here's what we know about the fire. Okay. So Lahaina had a hurricane coming. So Lahaina is a small town on Maui. Lahaina is a town that has a lot of very expensive real estate, but it has a lot of longtime residents that have generational families that live there. So these residents have been there for generations. They have families that have been there for generations, but the land that they live on is very sought after. People have been trying to get at their land for a very, very long time, offering them all kinds of things. And the people of Lahaina say, no, this is our land. This is our family's land. We have culture here. This is a historic town. So we're not giving up our land. So already they're very suspicious of people. Okay. So then this hurricane comes in and they have super high winds. Okay. Um, and this is one of the things that caused the fire to spread so quickly. So here's what we know: hurricane comes in, they have massive winds. They send all the children home from school because of the wind. So all the kids are home from school. They're in their homes. A lot of their parents are working. Okay. So that happens. The fires start. The firefighters are told, okay, the fire was put out. So they go somewhere else and work on another fire. They're not in Lahaina anymore, or at least in that immediate area. Okay. So that happens. And then the fire starts, it starts spreading really quickly. There are sirens in the area. They have one of the most sophisticated, largest uh, siren systems, and it's mainly for tsunamis and things like that. But you can also use it for fires. You can use it for any sort of emergency. The sirens didn't go off. The water pressure was down. There was no water pressure. So even the firefighters that were fighting the fires, they didn't have water pressure. I have a video. I don't have it with me. We're going to go through a lot of videos. The firefighters are on, I think it was CBS, saying we were trying to fight the fires and then all of a sudden the water pressure went down. So they didn't have water. Another thing that happened was, typically in situations like this, you'll cut off the power because when the winds are so high, when you have dry land, you're going to want to cut off the power in case one of the power lines goes down and it creates sparks, which would create a fire. They did not turn off the fire. Another thing that happened was police were blocking the roads. Now, this could have been for several reasons. This could have been because there were power lines down on some of the roads. So the police could have been blocking people in because maybe there were power lines down on other parts of the road. Although you do have civilians saying, I didn't see any obstructions in the roads. So there's that. I'm just playing devil's advocate. I don't know. We don't know. The point of this whole stream is there's a lot of questions, a whole lot of questions. And we're not going into conspiracy theory land. We're going into what are the questions. Water was not released. You're right. Water was not released. Electricity was not turned off. People were blocked into a road called Front Street. That's where a lot of the burned cars that you're going to see, that's on Front Street. So you have a lot of failures that happened. And a lot of people in the town are saying, you know, the people were great. It was the government that really hurt us in this situation. Okay, so those are the things we know. Okay, we also know that we have about 114 people that are confirmed gone. There's still about, it's estimated between 1,013, maybe even 1,400 people that are still missing. Unfortunately, the saddest thing about this entire situation is that a lot of the people that are missing are probably the kids that were sent home from school because they had no idea what to do. They had no idea to evacuate. It also could be elderly people in elderly homes or that were at home who also didn't know to evacuate. And that's another big criticism from the people. Why didn't you sound the alarms so we knew to at least go outside our homes and to get out of there? Okay, so we know that. Let's look at some of the footage that I have because there are a lot of questions that a lot of people still have, and things are a bit iffy. There are reporters down there, and the answers aren't necessarily coming. One of the conspiracy theories is there is evidence that many people wanted Maui to be a testing ground for a 15-minute city. Those are the little smart cities where you can't really go outside. You guys know what I'm talking about. Is it true that they are not getting supplies? Okay, that's another thing. Thank you for bringing that up, Bradley. So FEMA and Red Cross are in charge. Anytime you have a government entity that's in charge of any kind of effort, you have red tape, you have bureaucracies, um, you have systems that you have to go through. So one of the main complaints from the people right away was that FEMA was hoarding supplies. Why were they doing this? Because they have to go through all this red tape in order to release supplies for people. So people felt like, and it was, I saw footage of it. People were saying that supplies were getting cut off from them. So citizens had to almost break the law just to get supplies to each other. Tulsi Gabbard is on the ground there. Yes, I do believe she's going. This week, she's going back to the reserves. So she'll be in Kansas, I believe. She's still in the Army Reserve. So she has Army Reserve duty. And she's going to Kansas this week. But she was on the ground. She was helping to get supplies to people. Just following orders. Yes, this is another thing. So the police that were blocking the roads that kind of kept people in so that they couldn't escape and get away from the fire, the police officers were saying, we're just following orders. Well, what does that mean? We don't know. That's the thing. What orders were you following and why were you following those orders? Again, those are more questions that people have. And that's what this whole thing is going to be about. We don't know the answers. We're just going to look at what's there and probably it will raise more questions. Why was Oprah's house not affected as well as many billionaires' homes? I actually think, okay, hold on, let me highlight this. I think I have an answer for that. I actually think not you, Tim. Sorry. Hold on. Okay. Have you touched on why we're going to get into that. Wait, where was that comment? You guys are commenting too fast. I can't. Okay, here we go. Sergio, why was Oprah's house not affected as well as many billionaires' homes? This is what I think. The land in Lahaina is very dry. And it's very dry because if you listen to a lot of the locals, it's dry because a lot of that water has been diverted to, I think it was like the sugar plantations. The water was diverted to a lot of other places, and it actually caused the land to be a lot drier than what it's supposed to be because the water was diverted to these plantations. What I suspect is happening with Oprah's property, I don't necessarily think it's the evil doings. This is what I suspect. I suspect her property is a lot more moisturized than the rest of Lahaina. I suspect she gets a lot more water. I suspect her land is a lot more lush than the rest of Lahaina. That's what I suspect. And that's one of the reasons I suspect why her land didn't burn the way the rest of it did. There could be other reasons, but that's what I think. Because there's a huge issue of water on that island. Okay. So I don't necessarily think it's nefarious. That could be why. For instance, if you're looking at footage in Canada, a lot of people were saying, why are all the homes burning, but all the trees are still standing? So there's huge wildfires happening in Canada right now. And that's one of the videos that I saw. All the homes are burning, yet all the trees around the homes are standing and they're fine because the trees are living. They have moisture in them. The homes are essentially dead trees. For instance, there was a home in Lahaina. I don't remember exactly where it was, but the home was built completely out of concrete. That home didn't burn, but everything around it burned. It was concrete. It wasn't wood or anything like that. So that could be a reason. All right, so let's see. Where do we start? What video should we watch first? Okay, the water. Let's go into that. The guy that's in charge of the water. So what had happened was people were requesting water. The the release of the water was delayed about 5 hours, and by the time it was released, it was too late. I'm going to show you the guy that's in charge of the water. And his excuse for not releasing the water was, I have to get permission from so and so and so and so in order to release it. Which to you and I, that might sound kind of silly, because it's like, if it's an emergency situation, release the freaking water. I watched a video of one of the firefighters almost in tears saying she was trying to fight the fire, but the water pressure was down. She couldn't fight it and there was nothing she could do. Okay, so this is the guy that's in charge of the water. We're going to watch him. This video is going viral.
Like taking it and looking at it from a holistic
This is
system
his
perspective.
philosophy on the water. Oh yeah, okay, so that's another thing. A lot of Biden just secured $24 billion to Ukraine, and I believe $13 billion to Lahaina, Maui. So the only aid, the direct aid that people are getting from Biden is one direct payment of $700, which is what, a trip to the grocery store, essentially. And of course, they'll get help from FEMA a little bit. They'll get help from their insurance a little bit. But there's already stories about people's insurance claims being denied. There are stories of developers and realtors already trying to get the land from people before they even have a chance to mourn. And then we're going to get started on the governor. But this is the guy that's in charge of the water. This was a while back, but you just see where his head's at, right?
Commission is responsible per our authorized. The commission.
This guy is also a part of Obama's foundation. Just putting that out there.
Is responsible per our authorizing statute to protect and manage all water resources.
Wait, hold on. I want to look at this comment really quick. This is Sergio. I work for a water municipal. I can't say that word. I'm blonde. And I wouldn't need permission to release water. We make sure pumps are on to keep tanks from draining out. Yeah. What I've seen so far is that water is a really touchy. There's been a big issue with water in Lahaina and maybe Maui in general. I don't know. So it's a little bit different there, I think, because it's an island. But you're right. In an emergency situation, why would you need to ask anyone for permission to release water in a situation this bad? I don't know. But he delayed releasing it for 5 hours. And then when they did release it, it was too late. And what happened was the winds were out of control. Keep in mind, the kids were sent home because of the winds. The winds were out of control. And that's what spread the fire so quickly. All right, let's start this over again.
Is responsible per our authorized. The commission is responsible per our authorizing statute to protect and manage all water resources in the state. One Water is like taking it and looking at it from a holistic system perspective. And that's not any different than how Hawaiians traditionally managed water. You know, in essence, we treated Native Hawaiians treated water as one of the earthly manifestations of a god and a kua kane. And so that reverence for a resource and that reciprocity in relationship was something that was really, really important to our worldview and well-being, right? And living in an island, isolated from other, civilizations. And so I think where it shifted to today or over time is that we've become used to looking at water as like something which we use and not necessarily something that we revere.
No, he doesn't show regret, but this is before the fires. So just keep in mind, this is just showing you what his mindset is.
As that thing that gives us life, right? I mean, to me, it's a shift in value set. And, if we can start to really look at how we as humans in an island can reconnect to that traditional value set. So really my motto is always like, let water connect us and not divide us. Like we can share it, but it requires true conversations about equity. Commission is.
And there is that word equity. There is that word equity. Okay. So a lot of you are saying he seems really nonchalant. This was before the fires, so he's not going to know about the fires. But that just kind of shows you where his mindset is, where his ideology is. And this is the ideology that we criticize quite often as being extremely dangerous. And if you look at, if you read articles about his reasoning for not releasing the water sooner, he says he needed to get permission from so and so and so and so and so and so. Essentially, landowners. He needed permission for other landowners because there were citizens that were requesting water so they could fight the fires. Equality and equity are two different things. Yes, sir, they are. Yes, they are. All right, so we have that.
If that was the case, then they would have gone into the fire.
Another thing that happened were the sirens were not let off. And what you're going to hear from a lot of officials is we only use those sirens in case of tsunamis or things like that. Yet, if you look on the government website, it also says wildfires. Now, this is the guy that chose not to set off the alarms or to set off the sirens to warn people. And his excuse for that, you're going to listen to him say what his excuse is. You're also going to hear him say, yes. Stan said, so he's a plumber. Yes, he's a plumber. That's great. He is a plumber. He's a high-paid plumber. Very high-paid plumber. Okay, so this is the guy that chose not to sound off the sirens. And he essentially says that he does not regret signing off or sounding off the sirens because they are typically used for tsunamis. And he says, if I would have sounded off the sirens, people would have ran into the fires. That's essentially what he says. And he says he doesn't regret it. But interestingly enough, this guy, the day after he said that, he resigned. So this guy is resigned. That should tell you everything you need to know. He quoted health reasons. Okay. But again, on the website, it says you can sound off the sirens if there's a wildfire. And you and I both know that if you hear sirens and you go outside of your home and you see fire, you're probably not going to run into the fire. Even if you're a child, even if you're an elderly individual, you're probably not going to run into the fire. But here he is.
Come in the form of a wireless emergency alert. Had we sounded the siren that night, we're afraid that people would have gone Malka. And if that was the case, then they would have gone into the fire. And so that.
Yeah, so that was a further part of that conversation, or that answer was he was essentially saying he does not regret not sounding off the sirens. And there's many residents that said if we would have heard a siren, we could have saved more people. More people would have been saved. More people would have run out of their homes. Because a lot of people are saying, you know, these kids were home, there were elderly home, there were people home, and they were just in their homes. And before they realized what was happening, it was too late. You have to understand how fast these winds were and how incredibly fast this fire spread. It was super fast. Oh, Wall Street Tech said robots would do a better job. Okay, now here's where it starts getting even more weird. Well, first, let me show you the governor. This is the governor, Josh Green, who hasn't been totally transparent and who is essentially saying this is climate change. Here's one thing I know. This is not an argument whether climate change is or isn't. We're not even getting into that right now. But I can tell you one thing. This particular fire, this one right here, from what I've seen so far, has absolutely nothing to do with climate change. Nothing. The land is dry because the water has been taken up by plantations. Okay, a hurricane came with winds. That happens all the time. But Hawaii Electric, oh, that's another thing I forgot to tell you. Hawaii Electric has had faulty power lines for a very long time, about 4 years now. They have had power lines that are literally going into trees. You can look this up yourself. Don't take my word for it. You have faulty power lines that people have been complaining about for a long time that they have said have been a fire hazard for a very long time. We also have footage of several power lines falling down and sparking. So a lot of people are speculating that that might have been what started the fires, are these faulty power lines, and then obviously the wind spreading it really quickly. And let me tell you something, as a California resident, a lot of our fires are electric companies that are not keeping up with their equipment and that are negligent and not keeping up with their safety checks. And our governor, Gavin Newsom, loves to blame it on climate, even though he knows that's not what it is. It's a cover up. Okay, so here's Governor Josh Green. This was actually recently, so let's see what he has to say.
Issued a firewall. As we've been discussing, there are now a lot of questions about all of the policies and procedures. The National Weather Service had issued a fire watch for your state August 6th, a few days before the fire hit. With the siren system, you said to CNN on Monday and again on Tuesday that you believe some of the sirens were broken. When did you learn they weren't fully functional?
Okay, I'm going to pause it right there. So that's what he said first. Now, this interview is recent, but he said first that the sirens were broken, that at least some of them were broken, and that's not why they sounded them off. Well, then you saw that guy that I showed you before. He said that he didn't turn on the sirens and he didn't regret it because that's not what the sirens are for. So you have conflicting narratives. You have conflicting reasons right there. Okay, just wanted to point that out.
We assess every siren across the state on the first of the month, and then we ask people to update them and fix them to their abilities. Of course, as a person, as a father, as a doctor, I wish all the sirens went off. The challenge that you've heard, and it's not to excuse or explain anything, the challenge has been that historically those sirens are used for tsunamis. That's when I came to Hawaii 23 years ago, was told when I was living down near the shore. So it's usually tsunamis and hurricanes. For perspective, we've had 6 fire emergencies this August.
He's going to go into what? He's going to go into what narrative? What narrative is he going to go into?
We had 6 fire emergencies between 1953 and 2003. That's how fast things are changing. I know that there is debate out there of whether we should be talking about climate change or not. Well, let's be.
That's what he said. He's straight out of the Gavin Newsom playbook, my friends. Straight out of Gavin Newsom's playbook.
Real world, climate change is here. We are in the midst of it with a hotter planet and fiercer storms.
Yep. Deflect.
Right.
And you asked the question, I'm coming back to it right now. Do I wish those sirens went off? Of course I do. And I think that the answer that the emergency administrator from Maui, who's resigned, said was, of course, utterly unsatisfactory to the world. But it is the case.
Hey, I want to highlight this comment. Yeah. Okay. Before we finish, let's look at this comment. We're going to listen to what he's almost done. Hawaii is a very blue state. One of the sides of the island is extremely dry due to height of the volcano mountain. Restrictions are government enforced. They follow in hopes of government grants funds. Yeah. And a lot of the water, if you look in the history of Lahaina in particular, it's drier than what it used to be because of a lot of these plantations that took up a lot of their water. So the landscape has actually changed a bit because of that. Hi, Mexico City.
That we've historically not used those.
Yeah. Okay. So he's saying they have historically not used those sirens for wildfires, but you would think in such an emergency with a fire ablazing that quickly, knowing your kids are at home, knowing all of these things, that you would alert the sirens, you would do whatever you can. You would be in the streets helping to evacuate people, getting them out. Instead, it was the opposite. You had no sirens, you had no warning, and you had police telling people you can't go here, you can't go here. You had police blocking people in. And I don't know why the police were blocking people in. I'm going to play devil's advocate and say that maybe it's because power lines were down in the streets, although eyewitnesses are saying they didn't see any obstructions. But we'll just go ahead and play devil's advocate until we know any better. You could argue that the police were blockading people in because maybe there were power lines down on the roads in other areas. Maybe they didn't know how dangerous it was, but that was one of the things that caused a lot of people to have to jump in the ocean. That's one of the things that unfortunately caused a lot of people to perish in their cars. So that's the governor. And now that you've seen what he's saying now, I'm going to show you what the governor said right after this happened. And this is the part that's starting to get really bizarre and really weird. And again, we don't know anything. We're not playing conspiracy theorists. We just have questions, right? All right. So this was the governor. I've never seen this before, ever. This is the governor right after. This is the governor days ago. Days ago. Okay. Remember, I told you a lot of people want this land. People have been trying to get this land for a long time.
Governor Josh Green had to say, along with the FEMA director, about preserving Lahaina moving forward.
I'm already thinking about ways for the state to acquire that land so that we can put it into workforce housing, to put it back into families, or to make it open spaces in perpetuity as a memorial to people who were lost.
Have you ever heard of a political official right after a disaster, before everyone is recovered, while the families are still mourning, while people's houses are still in the ground, talking about acquiring the land? Have you ever heard that before, ever? Why would you do that? And listening to the people of Lahaina, a lot of them, they really want their land. They respect their land. They don't want to give it up. So if the people don't want that, if the people want to preserve their land, wouldn't you as a public servant be doing everything you can to help them preserve their land? Yet he's talking about acquiring the land, the state acquiring the land. Give me any person that thinks it's a good idea for the state to acquire land. That's never good. That never ends well for anyone. What do you want? Government projects? Nobody wants that. All right. What do we have next? Oh, you know what? You know what? Oh, where is he? Give me 1 second. Where did he go? I have another video that I really wanted to show you. It's a police officer. Here he is. Okay.
Hey, I got something to bitch about.
All right. We are going to watch a police officer from Lahaina. So this is actually a police officer that was there. So just so you don't think they're all bad or they're all just following orders or what's going on with them, here's a police officer. He's kind of funny.
Okay, I got something to bitch about. I've had to redo this video a couple times because I keep cussing too much, and my boss said, I don't care if you do TikToks, just quit cussing as much. But what the fuck are we doing in Maui? Like, seriously.
Sorry, I laughed. He said, I keep cussing too much. And the first thing he did was, what the F are we doing? Okay, go ahead. Let's go ahead.
Biden hasn't even went there yet. You'll give all this money and time and effort and resources to Ukraine, but you won't even do it to fellow Americans? Like, come on. Like, did we forget Hawaii's part of America? I mean, these people need help more than anybody. They're stuck on an island. They need food, they need water, they need shelter, they need medical supplies. Their governor's more worried about rebuilding Hawaii than he is about showing emotional support to these people. We still...
Yes, and that's what's weird. Immediately, the governor starts talking about rebuilding and acquiring land. Like, what? That's the thing. I've never heard that before, ever. I'm not that old, but I've been through a few disasters. I've never heard that before, ever. And that's what's making people suspicious. That's what's making people go into conspiracy land. I say this all the time. I'm like, you want people to stop being conspiracy theorists? Stop being weird. Stop being weird. Again, we don't know. We're not going there, but there's a lot of questions. and they're not being answered. Okay, let's go.
Still have 1,000 people missing. I'm sure, sad to say it, I'm sure they're long gone.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you can't help bring closure to these families of these victims. And you got an emergency management coordinator who Monday through Friday for however long the last several years, assumingly, he sat there and twiddled his thumbs thinking, what am I going to do today? What am I going to do today? Your sole job is preparing and planning for disasters, okay? Why don't you be on the offense instead of the defense? Come up with some different scenarios on what could happen in Hawaii or what could happen in Maui. How can we plan for this and solve this? I don't know. If there were to be a massive fire, how could we prevent that? What steps could we take? I don't know. Let's cut down some dead trees or tree limbs around the utility areas. I don't know. Maybe we can make the
Okay, that's a good point too. That's what I was saying earlier. There are a lot, and you can look this up yourself. There are a lot of pictures around utility lines that show a lot of overgrown shrub. And let me just tell you something. I've lived in Colorado and I've lived in California, okay? So I know how important land management is and forest management is. And one of the main things you have to do is you have to get rid of that shrub, because that's essentially, that is going to accelerate any fire that you have. If you have a fire, it's going to accelerate it like crazy. If you have all this shrub, that will just burn up.
Utility companies put flame retardant material so that this doesn't happen. Maybe we could not issue permits to homes to be built up in the mountains so that they're stuck there and surrounded by trees and they have no way to get out safely. Maybe when we're in a drought or there's high winds, we can make the utility companies put up fire watchers up there so if something does happen like it did, we can put it out. I don't know. I'm a nobody. Just a thought. That's with zero experience.
Exactly. That's what's so frustrating. You have all these people in charge, and then when something happens, they're like, no.
Didn't need a bachelor's degree or a master's degree for that. But the one thing he could have done is he could have put on sirens, but he didn't want to do that. He didn't want to do that because he thought that the people would run into the fire. Are you a dipshit? If I'm in the ocean
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh. It's not really funny. Land management is high on the priority list. It should be. Absolutely. That was when I first moved to Colorado. I went to a national park and I took a little tour from a park ranger. And that's one of the first things he talked about us, or he talked to with us. He took us to the forest and he said, yeah, forest management is really, really important. The same in the winter, you guys. So you go to Maroon Bells in Aspen in the winter time, or actually anywhere where it's really mountainous. And what they do controlled blasts on the side of the mountains. So they will force mini avalanches. And the reason they do that is so that it doesn't build up. So that way they can control the avalanche. They can get people out of there. They can make it safe. So that way it's not building up and building up and building up until one day there's a random avalanche that takes out tons of property and could be potentially dangerous. So they control avalanches. They do controlled blasts all the time. That's just what you do. But what happens in a lot of these super blue states is you have these activists that honestly aren't very smart. And they look at controlled burns, they look at forest management and stuff like that as hurting the environment. Yet what actually happens is when there is a real burn, it spreads so quickly, a lot quicker than it would have if you would have had these control burns, if you would have had forest management. And now you have even more destruction. You have even more pollution. It's so silly. It's so silly.
somebody screams shark, I'm not going to swim farther out into the ocean. I'm going to go to the shore. These people could have seen the smoke, seen the fire, and ran the opposite way. This is why people hate the government. The government's required to do two things, okay? Take your hard-earned money, taxes, and provide safety and security. They failed on both of these. They're giving our tax money away to the wrong people, and they're not providing safety and security. And I can say that because I work for the government. Granted, I'm like down here, like the bottom, okay, compared to like up there. But still.
I like him.
Come on. How come every time there's a disaster somewhere in America, the emergency management coordinator resigns? You know why? Because he didn't do his fucking job. Did not plan. Did not prepare. Every time. Show me one disaster we've had where somebody was like, that emergency management coordinator went above and beyond. Usually they're the ones, running around trying to hand out water bottles to people saying, oh, I don't know what else to do. I'm not prepared for this. This is your job. This is your responsibility. No, it's not. It's yours. Plan the logistics. Mitigate. Prepare. All right, I think I'll stick with this video.
Okay, his cussing was at a minimal, so we're proud. He kept it together for most of the time. But that's some of the frustration. And what's also frustrating is the lack of transparency. That's really frustrating. There's a lot of funny business going on. I have a journalist he's an independent journalist that I follow really closely. He is okay. He's fine. He just laid low today, but I want to show you what happened. So he's from he's from the States, right? He flew down to Maui to try to get to the bottom, to ask questions about what's happening in Lahaina. Because on top of all of this, you have a lot of government officials that are being very secretive. They're not really answering questions. They're not being transparent. And some funny business is going on and nobody knows why. And again, I don't know why. I'm not accusing anyone of anything, but it's just making people more suspicious. It's making people ask questions. So I'm going to show you this video and we'll chat.
Hey, what's up, Nick? I've been trying to reach you. Been reaching out to you on X.
Oh.
You're supposed to be
Okay. So this is a full video. It's actually not by Nick Sorter. It's by another guy. So Nick Sorter he was one of the first people that went to East Palestine during that whole situation. And he's now down in Maui covering this. And I just want to tell you before you watch this video, he is 45 minutes away from Lahaina. And this was 5:45 in the morning when this person approached him. He was doing an interview with Steve Bannon. And I have another journalist that I follow very closely that's on the ground in Maui, and he actually has family in Maui, and he's been getting the same thing. He's been getting intimidated, and he just overall says, I don't feel safe on the island. And again, it's like, why? It's like the people that are there asking real questions, you're getting the same attitude, and it's strange.
Trying to cover West Maui.
people's minds here.
Look at what happens.
So I'm sure a lot of you have seen this clip, but I want to tell you my thoughts on it, as well as similar things that I have experienced trying to cover West Maui.
People's minds here. Hey, what's up, Nick? I've been trying to reach you. Been reaching out to you on X.
Weird.
You're supposed to be meeting with people here. What victims have you had?
Okay, yeah. So this is so you're seeing this live right now. People actually tracked me down.
I thought you were staying in a tent. You said you were coming and staying in a tent, Nick.
So this is another thing you're going to hear. You're going to hear people saying you're here taking up resources, right? Because it's a small island. Again, he's staying 45 minutes away from Lahaina.
Resources.
I'm not taking up any resources here.
Can you tell me the name of the person who said that?
Okay, so this guy he's the mayor of Lahaina. This guy's the mayor.
Where they live, if they're from here, if they're from somewhere else, that might help.
Okay, so what's going on here is somebody tracked down a reporter named Nick Sorter who came out here to Maui to cover the story. He was asking some tough questions.
So this is Front Street. This is where a lot of people got stuck. So you're seeing a lot of cars there. And then a lot of people you might see when he pans over, a lot of people went into the ocean to try to seek refuge because the flames were so extreme.
Which allegedly could have something to do with all of this. But he was staying 45 minutes away from Lahaina town, which means that whoever tracked him down was using fuel and resources to track him down.
Good point. He was staying 45 minutes away, so you're using resources to come and find him.
So apparently here in Maui, resources are important, but not as important as suppressing the First Amendment and making sure that nobody finds out what's really going on. Now, as many of you are aware, I've experienced this same stuff out here, simply trying to record what's going on the ground. And I've had death threats, I've had many phone calls, text messages, private messages, all sorts of threats. And so I know exactly what he is dealing with. And I've also had this whole thing about resources. So let's talk about resources. When we're talking about resources, I mean, what is it? Fuel, water, food, medicine, that type of thing. And so there's this mentality out here, which I don't think could possibly be legitimate. I think that people have an agenda who say this, but there's this idea that resources just fall out of the sky and like hit this island in the middle of the Pacific, and we all have to fight over them, and we have this finite amount of resources. And that's not really how it works. There's bottled water on the grocery store shelf because people buy that bottled water, and the grocery store brings it from the mainland and sells it to make money. So if there's no people here buying it, then it's not going to exist. I mean, that's how all resources work. And this place is a fucking ghost town right now. There is nobody in Wailea. There is nobody in Kihei. These are places that were unaffected. The resorts are empty.
The only way we are able to survive are through visitors and tourism dollars. There's not one tourist on this entire beach, you guys. Not one.
And a lot of locals understand that. Anyway, guys, this is a very sad, very scary, very dangerous situation out here, and I am pleading with you to help me ensure that a tyrannical government does not get away with this. You need to share and make sure that the world knows that the First Amendment and the press are being suppressed here, and what is the reason for that? You guys can decide on your own what the reason for that is. I think it's pretty obvious.
Because we had a media gaggle with us on Saturday.
This is the governor, Josh Green.
To suggest that we're not providing access is just simply inaccurate.
Well, we're being turned away.
Well, I'm glad you're being turned away.
Oh, and by the way, right as I was about to post this video, I noticed a warning that TikTok put on my latest video where all I'm doing is walking around and showing what's going on the ground here, and it says participating in...
Yeah, so just super weird stuff. Super, super weird stuff. Let me see if I have anything. What is this? This might be old. What is this?
Following our normal practices. And so it doesn't matter your status. We have mugshots ready for you. We are following our part.
That's not Lahaina. Sorry. Let me take that down. Sorry. That was something totally different. But here, let's get that out of the stream. Remove from studio. I have a few more videos for you. Land grab, without a doubt. Oh, yeah. And it's so disturbing to hear about how many people are being contacted by realtors and developers when not everyone has even been recovered yet. Really disturbing. I mean, here we go. This is how, I mean,
food, clothes.
Are you okay?
It's so sad.
It's just, you think of the people that were hurt. Yesterday we got a man who went into Lahaina and found his son and his dog dead, 15-year-old.
That's the story I told you where we were giving him food.
And that's a man that just, I can't believe his eyes. And he just came up here and he wanted food, and I rallied around him and everybody came together and hugged him, and we gave him so much food and so many things. We were holding off on giving some stoves out just to keep it here so we can cook for everybody. But we gave that up because we felt that like that would make it better. I don't know. It was so sad. It's so
horrible.
Sad for him.
And so Biden is actually set to visit tomorrow. So we're going to see. We'll see. Here's another resident. And one of the things that recently happened was... Okay, I'll play that for you in a minute. So Biden secured $24 billion more to Ukraine, and he attached that to aid to Lahaina. So I think it was like $12 or $13 billion to Lahaina, $24 billion to Ukraine. He attached those two. And the reason he did that, or why I would speculate as to why he did that, was to essentially hold the aid hostage. So if anyone was like, no, we don't want more money to go to Ukraine, he would say, well, what, you don't want to help the victims of Maui, of Lahaina? So that's what he did, which is just beyond. But here's another resident, and here we go.
No more nothing for us anymore in the ocean except sunscreen. So let us get back to our island. We can survive. If the United States government don't like help us, maybe Japan going, they love Hawaii. Maybe one other country, but
Japan, I believe, is sending $2 or $3 million to Lahaina.
if they can freaking take care of Ukraine, yeah, $40 billion go to Ukraine. Fucking shit ain't coming to us. What the fuck? My tax-paying money for 60 fucking years don't mean shit. But they're gonna take care of Ukraine, 40 fucking billion. But nobody's still here for take care of us. We're suffering. All this shit we gotta do on our own. Now they come. Oh no, we like political. Oh, FEMA coming, Red Cross coming. None of these caravans can come in. Oh, political. When I hear you guys talk, I like mention some names. I don't more love for you guys. You guys full of shit. You guys reading something off on paper. I never feel sincerity or emotion. But my sister died. The first picture they saw of somebody dead was rough. Ocean.
Yeah. So yeah. It'll be interesting to see how he is received. I heard several residents say they are not happy with the response, with the government response. So yeah, tomorrow will be really interesting. As far as I'm concerned, he's still expected to go. A lady that's really high up with FEMA said that she's excited about Biden's visit. It's going to bring people hope and togetherness. So we'll see. It'll be interesting. But those are a lot of the questions that people have so far. Sergio said, I bet there will be a lot of Democrat supporters and voters leaving the party now because of Maui. You would think. I don't know. I get surprised sometimes. Every time I see something, I'm like, there's no way. There's no way. There's no way. But then people are just, they're so partisan in their heads that you would be surprised. Is there anything I forgot to show you? Oh, I'm sure you saw this. I mean, this is what happened in the very This was Biden when he was in Rehoboth Beach on Sunday. By the way, he's on vacation again. He's in Lake Tahoe. He's leaving vacation to go to Maui tomorrow. And then I believe he'll be going right back. But this is him when he was in Rehoboth Beach. They asked him about, this is one of the worst disasters in Hawaii history. The deadliest wildfire. And this is how Biden responds.
Will you come talk about the Hawaii response, Mr. President?
Oh, you didn't see, I cut it off. I apologize. But he says no comment, or he just walks away. And he did that several times. So, again, you don't know what goes on behind closed doors. Because apparently the FEMA lady just thinks he's doing an excellent job. And he's been working with her and everything's fabulous. Yeah, well, you're the president, so you're supposed to at least say something to comfort people. Yep. He's not polished on the Maui situation. I don't see how he is. I don't see how he's polished on much of anything. He just seems like he kind of lives in his own world there. I think that was everything I have for you right now. Yeah. All right. Hoping Hawaii will flip in 2024. We shall see. Okay, hold on one second. But Nick Sorter, that journalist, I want to read you, the independent journalist, I want to read you what he wrote. I was a little bit worried about him today because all this happened over it. All this happened. A lot of this went down yesterday, and then it was kind of silent all day. So I was a bit worried about him, but he did write something on his Twitter that I'd like to read for you. Okay, so he wrote, Nick Sorter was the one that was approached from behind. He wrote, so many of you have been reaching out to check on me here in Maui. I'm tremendously grateful for each of you. I took a pause from posting last night to allow time for the situation to settle, as well as refocus my efforts on the story out here. But I do not want the news coverage to be focused on me. Videos of me have been blasted on the Hawaii news stations for 3 days now. This is about obtaining peace and justice for the families of Lahaina. After the events of yesterday, several locals contacted me offering to accompany me to Lahaina, and they introduced me to some truly amazing people. I'm so inspired. Even with the absolute hell the people of Lahaina have been going through, there are still so many inspiring and heartwarming stories. I can't wait to write about them. Please keep these amazing families in your thoughts and prayers. They need them more than you know. So I think that's really cool. And, I totally understand what he's saying. You're a journalist and you're going there to cover stories, and then you all of a sudden become the story. So there's that. John. The guy that talked about the water, maybe the Hawaiians should take him to Captain Cook's Cove. Most will get what I mean. I don't know what you mean. What is Captain Cook's Cove? I don't know what that is. All right, you guys. Well, I think we beat that horse. That's pretty much all there is right now. It's just more questions than anything. So there we are. We still don't know exactly how the fire started. It's looking like a lot of human error. But, we'll find out. Hopefully there's an investigation. And hopefully if it was human error, if it was negligence, hopefully the people get justice. Whatever that looks like, and whatever way that looks like. Hawaii only has 4 electoral votes. Don't expect the federal government to pay a lot of attention. Compare responses to flooding in Iowa or Fargo or New Orleans. Well, we saw it recently with East Palestine. Oh, did I just turn my mic off? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? What about now? So, all right. So, yes, please hit the like before you go. Help my little baby algorithm. Okay, you can hear me. What about now? Just kidding. Help my little baby algorithm. And I hope that justice is coming. Whatever that looks like, whatever that justice is, whatever the answers are, I hope that, I hope that answers come, whatever those answers are. Thank you very much. All right, you all. So I'm going to be live tomorrow again at 8 p.m. I will announce, and I'm going to make it a fun show. We're going to do clown news, okay? So we're going to just do silly news and laugh. That's what we're going to do. Because I think everybody needs it. And I appreciate you guys watching. We're going to stay on this, so don't worry. We will stay on it. This was sort of just an overview of what's happening and what the questions are. So we'll get a little bit more focused on certain things next time we talk about this topic. But I really appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate all of you for being here. Clown news, honk. All right, you all. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow again at 8 p.m. I will announce be there or be square. Eva is not here. She's outside. She's ignoring me. So, she's outside enjoying the country. Your eyes look like good luck charms. Good luck, people. They do. All right. Have a great evening, you guys. This is so cool. No, I can't get over this. I'm live also on Twitter. I didn't even know I could do that. This is awesome. This is so cool. Technology. Didn't even know. I'm live here and on Twitter. I'm in all the area codes. I know, Eva, I'll bring her in tomorrow. I didn't even think about it, but yeah, she's outside probably. She killed her 5th mouse, so she's out there just hunting mice. All right, I love you guys, and I'll hopefully see you tomorrow. All right, bye. How do I turn this thing off? There we go. Okay, bye, you guys. Have a good night.